Welcome to the Line Life Podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite, Senior Editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Welcome to the Line Life Podcast. My name is Amy Fishbach, and I'm the Field Editor for T&D World magazine. On today's episode, we're going to highlight those who are giving back to their communities, the utility industry, and the line trade. We're first going to start with the story of Prismian, who gave back to the community in Abbeville, South Carolina, who was directly impacted by Hurricane Helene. Next, you'll hear a narrated version of an article that we published online about how Ameren, Illinois helped a local animal shelter set up a dog sensory garden with some donated wood spools. Then you'll hear an interview with Paul Kaler and Jason Novak from Ameren, Illinois, who talk about the Climbing for Kids program and how they're helping the families who are served by St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finally, we'll offer a short overview of Salt River Project's volunteer project to stuff an entire school bus full of toys for children in need to brighten up their holidays. But first, we'll start with a segment on Prismian featuring the Vice President of HR, John Andrews. John, thank you so much for joining us today for the Line Life Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So thank you.
John, to begin, can you talk about Prismian's donation of $25,000 to hurricane relief efforts? How did it help the communities to rebuild and recover?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, what I'm always very proud of for the group is basically we made the decision right after the hurricane hit our Abbeville area where one of our main plants are on a Monday, and we were able to get everything down to them by Friday. So that was very important. And we felt that there were, a variety of different areas to help. And we decided to make a large donation of around $25,000. And to make sure we gave it to a community effort that would enable them to be able to use that money throughout the community in a variety of different ways as best needed from the community. So we actually asked the plant leadership and our HR team down there to make the decision to where would be the best place for the money to go. And that's where we decided to go to the United Christian Ministries there of Abbeville County, because they have the most wide-reaching ability to help the most people.
And John, can you talk about the damage done to the facility in Abbeville, South Carolina by the hurricane and just to the general community there?
I mean, the facility in and of itself did not have a lot of actual structural damage, which can happen in those particular circumstances with such a large facility. We did lose power for many days, which in our industry, obviously, any unplanned type outages can hurt, certainly from a product standpoint. So it took some time to get the plant up and running. But obviously, the main impact in Abbeville specifically, and then also at some of our plants in Lexington, South Carolina as well, was really the impact to our employees and their homes, mainly, flooding, loss of electricity, and then really the sheer time it took, right? That I think that's the key to get the communities back up and running, and to be without electricity, water, and those types of basic necessities for numerous days was really what was the main issue for our associates in those areas.
Well, that's wonderful that you're able to help out the employees there. And in addition to the donation, your headquarters in Highland Heights, Kentucky, collected a 53-foot truck full of essentials to ship to South Carolina. Can you talk about what was included in the truck and how the employees responded to the donations?
Yeah, so we did all the, necessity variety, hundreds of cases of water, just the basic necessities. Again, we asked the plant what employees were needing: toilet paper, Kleenex, baby wipes, diapers, and then the non-perishable food. And again, as I said earlier in the podcast, we made the decision on Monday, and by Thursday night, we're shipping a entire 18-wheeler down to Abbeville. I can't say enough about the employees here in Highland Heights, and then obviously our executive team for basically matching every single donation that was made. So really, again, it was the necessities the people were needing. And then I got wonderful pictures over the weekend, because by the time the truck got down there, it was a Saturday morning. And then the logistics that the plant had to do, right? As I'm sure you can appreciate, We have over 300 employees there, their families. So the plant team down there on the logistics to pick up the supplies, make sure everybody got what they needed was really remarkable. And very, very proud of the entire team to be able to do that. I mean, the employees were very, very appreciative. Their families are very appreciative. And I was very, again, proud of everyone being able to do that.
So, John, were you able to be down there when they distributed the donations and unloaded the truck?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was not, but our senior director of HR that has all of the plants was also personally affected. She lives in Abbeville, South Carolina. I was raised in that area, so it was very, very close to her heart. So she was there with the rest of the HR team, sending me pictures and keeping us all updated. So we had a very strong presence, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to be down there.
And how does Prismian feel about being able to help those in need following the Hurricane Helene?
I mean, obviously, we feel very, very good. I think we feel bad that it had to happen in the way it happened. But that's kind of our company overall. Our headquarters are in Italy, and we have a very strong community support way of looking at the world. And I was extremely proud, like I said, that we were able to do that. We've been able to do that in other parts as well. Some of our plants in New England that could get hit hard by a nor'easter. We've had some other activities with tornadoes and those types of things. So we really do take a lot of pride in that, and just really good people, which I know every head of HR will say that their company has great people, but we really do. And I think it again shows how quickly we were able to turn things around and get all those supplies down to them was really remarkable. Probably been with the company for 13 years. I've never seen us be able to do this that quickly. So extremely proud.
And John, is there anyone special you want to give a shout out to on this Line Life podcast episode who might have helped spearhead this effort?
Wow. Well, obviously, we have a great team here that really was their idea. Beverly Nelson, Anna Wright, our team, obviously, too, in Abbeville, Sergio Miacho, Eddie, our plant manager, Ruth, the head of HR, Lori, those groups. I also want to call out our CEO, Andrea Parendini. This was not anything we needed to get approved. We just did it, and he was so supportive of that to be able to do those things. And he and our chief operating officer, Paul Furtado, were more worried about the people and what was to do for the people and less worried about the plant. I mean, obviously, you want to get the plant back up and running so people can get to work, we can get the product out. But the number one concern were the people. And I think for a large manufacturing company, for people in those roles to be thinking about the associates, it makes my job as the head of HR a heck of a lot easier. So I appreciate everybody's quick response and support.
And John, do you have any other comments that you'd like to add?
Well, no, I mean, again, I think I kind of touched on a lot of those things and just really, really proud of the group effort, very proud of what we were able to do. Again, sorry that everyone had to go through that, but I think it certainly shows the strength of our company and the culture we've been able to build to help those people in need when something like this happens. So very proud of the company.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today for the Line Life podcast, John.
Thank you so much for having me.
For our next segment in this episode about giving back to the community, we are featuring an online story that we published from Ameren, Illinois, that was contributed by Brian Bretsch and Carly Cumbest from Ameren, Illinois. And it was about how some line workers helped a local animal shelter. And this one really caught my eye because my kids and I have volunteered at an animal shelter in Kansas City called Melissa's Second Chances for years. And every week we go and walk the rescue dogs and get them out of their cages and get them some fresh air and exercise. So I really wanted to share this story online on our website with our T&D World readers and subscribers. So here is a narrated version of that story. This article is titled, Giving Back in the Line Trade, Ameren, Illinois Supports Local Animal Shelter. Ameren, Illinois has a robust recycling program for decommissioned utility power poles and wire spools. However, when Peoria County Animal Protection Services reached out to Ameren, the company found a new way to repurpose several used wire spools. On October 15th, several Peoria area Ameren, Illinois line workers rolled up in trucks to deliver 7 3-foot-tall wooden wire spools to the nonprofit agency. The dogs will be able to climb and walk on the wooden spools in our new dog sensory garden, said Alex Mankey, kennel manager for PCAPS. Shelters are a stressful place. We see what kennel stress does to dogs in our care. Our new dog sensory garden is another tool we can use to help our dogs decompress and have a moment where they can be themselves. This helps our dogs show better to potential adopters and ultimately helps them get into new homes quicker. Landon Parker, an Ameren, Illinois electric supervisor, helped to coordinate the delivery. It feels great doing something positive for the community where we live and serve, Parker says. The benefits for the dogs to play around the wire spools and to their future adoptee owners will be significant. The sensory garden will be on the PCAPS ground on Northeast Perry Avenue. Minky said it will take volunteers to finish constructing the sensory garden with hopes of it opening soon. There are more animals ending up in shelters than we've seen in almost a decade, Minky said. We must be creative as a shelter. How do we keep the stress low? How do we provide enrichment for these animals that are waiting for adoption? A sensory garden is a great solution. Last year, Ameren, Illinois recycled more than 3.6 million pounds of wood waste and diverted more than 5,400 cubic yards of wood waste from landfills, which includes wooden wire spools. Donations come in all shapes and sizes, says Brian Brackney, Director of Electric Operations, Ameren, Illinois. We are thrilled to partner with PCAPS. This is an excellent opportunity to repurpose the wooden spools for years to come, with the hope of enriching the lives of dogs PCAPS is saving through adoption. For our next segment, we're going to feature an interview with 2 line workers for Ameren, Illinois, Paul Kaler and Jason Novak. They and their families set up a table right outside the exhibit hall at the 2024 Lineman's Expo. And during this segment, they talk about how the fundraising went in 2024 and how line workers can continue to help support the cause in 2025. Paul and Jason, thanks so much for joining me for the Line Life podcast. Paul, let's start with you. Can you talk about the plans for Climbing for Kids this year and how everything's going with the fundraising at the Lineman's Rodeo?
Fundraising is going amazing this year. We, again, have a raffle set up with donations from vendors from all over and extremely successful so far. You come by our booth and buy a ticket and 100% of the money goes to St. Jude, and we're happy to be here again.
And Jason, can you talk about how you were inspired to start the Climbing for Kids fundraising program?
Yeah, so I was just coming to compete again. I've been a competitor for a lot of years. It was my 20th time competing at that time. I just wanted to do something a little different because I made a lot of contacts out here, a lot of friendships, not with vendors, but competitors across the country. I was at church one day and somebody was giving their testimony about how St. Jude's had helped their family. And I thought, well, what a great cause. And, you know, they're just such an inspiration. Just didn't know what it would turn into, but thought we'd just raise some money. Asked my teammates. They're like, yeah, let's do it. First year was $5,500, which we thought was great. Every dollar helps. The next year was $44,000. The third year was over $100,000. And I tell you what, like Paul said, the vendors have been phenomenal this year. We have great prizes and giveaways. And the linemen out here have been super generous, and their families, and just the trade's amazing. We got amazing people here, and it's a great total so far, and we're still going. So, you know, we'll just see what it ends up like.
And now, Paul, can you share the story of your daughter, Juliana, and how your family feels about this fundraising program going to this point?
So me and my wife were just talking how we came to the rodeo with our family for 10 years. And Juliana always loved coming here, loved going to all the vendors, and loved going to all the booths and collecting all the stuff. So it holds a special place in our heart to come out here. And people talk about her being here and seeing her on stage that first year when she was a St. Jude patient, going across, giving that check that Jason helped with everything, and everybody with the lineman committee, the international committee, and everybody. So it's a way to pay respect to her and honor her, hopefully for years to come.
Paul, now can you talk about how St. Jude Children's Research Hospital helped you and your family?
So when Juliana was first diagnosed, St. Jude in our town of Peru, Illinois, but our hospital closest was a St. Jude outpost in Peoria, Illinois. So as soon as her diagnosis came, St. Jude stepped in within probably a half hour and gave us resources, you know, somebody to talk to, because you have a million questions and they had answers, and they had a different person for every role. whether it was a doctor, a nurse, a child life psychologist to help her, you name it. There was somebody at St. Jude a phone call away to help.
For those line workers who weren't able to be at the 2024 International Linemen's Rodeo Week, how can they contribute to the Climbing for Kids fundraising program both now and in 2025?
So we have a email that they can contact Paul and I with, Climbing for Kids. Our email is climbin for kids, CLIMBIN, the number 4, KIDS, @gmail.com.
We're also on Instagram at Climbing for Kids. You can shoot us a direct message, and we'd be happy to meet with your company and set up your own Climbing for Kids link that would go to our total next year. So if you have a team out there anywhere in the country, just give me a message. We can set it up with your own St. Jude link and all go towards our total.
And that will get you Paul and myself, and just send us a message on how you'd like to help. We're open about anything, and we'd love to get this spread across the country. We've had a lot of interest from different companies and people, and we're looking for people to jump on board and help. And one last thing, we couldn't do this without our family supports. Our wives and our kids they've been phenomenal helping us, and our teammates, just the whole group. It's just not Paul and I by any means. We've got a whole cast of people that are helping us, and we're just kind of the faces, I guess you would say, out here. But I mean, in the big scheme of things, we're just a small cog in this, and we're blessed in this, and it's been great.
Paul and Jason, thank you so much for all you do for the line trade and also for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We really appreciate you joining us for the Line Life podcast.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
At the end of the 2024 International Linemen's Rodeo Week, Jason and Paul and their families were able to present a check on stage for more than $83,000 to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Thanks to all the line workers and their families who donated money to the cause in 2024, and we hope that you will also support it in 2025. And also a special thanks to all the vendors who donated prizes to Climbing for Kids. And before we go on to our final segment, I also wanted to give a shout out to Terex Utilities, who had a Digging for the Cure campaign in its booth at the International Linemen's Rodeo for 2024. The line workers and their families who visited their booth could see a core barrel and auger in a custom pink color, and also a big banner on display that they could sign. Terex Utilities donated money for each signature on the banner to the Susan G. Komen organization, and this was to raise breast cancer awareness at the International Linemen's Rodeo. And I signed that banner, and I know there's a lot of other International Linemen's Expo attendees that did as well. So thanks again to Terex Utilities for spreading awareness about breast cancer and raising funds. Now for the final segment of this episode, we'll move to Arizona, where Salt River Project not only is very involved in the Light Up Navajo project, but also found a way to brighten the lives of families during the holidays. We love when these stories come through, and wanted to make sure that I mentioned this one. Elementary school students and SRP employees spread holiday joy by stuffing a school bus with toys. Salt River Project, or SRP, employee volunteers are bringing holiday joy to children in need for the 29th consecutive year. On Friday, December 6th, students from Western Valley Elementary School in Phoenix arrived at SRP on a school bus for the annual SRP Adopt an Angel Holiday Toy Drive. Students spread holiday cheer by singing festive carols, then enjoying cookies and hot cocoa. Afterwards, the students and employees filled the bus with wrap gifts donated by SRP employees that were distributed to more than 120 students in the Fowler United School District. Last year, SRP employees donated more than 1,000 toys and gifts to those in need through multiple community partners. Thanks to Salt River Project for volunteering their time and resources to help these families and children over the holidays. And if your utility is doing something to help those in your community, or if you're a line worker who helps those in need during your spare time, we'd love to hear about it. You can email us at linelifepodcast@gmail.com. I wanted to wish all of our Line Life Podcast listeners a wonderful and festive holiday season, and I hope that you have some time to spend with your families and loved ones. Thanks again for listening to the Line Life Podcast.
This episode of the Line Life podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlethwaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You can also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.